Hello students, welcome to today's lecture on artificial neural network. So in our earlier class, we have discussed about the fundamental knowledge required for neural networks in terms of matrix algebra and vector algebra. Today, we will be learning another fundamental concept to to be used in neural networks, that is learning paradigms. So let us start the introduction with what is a learning paradigm and why we need to use it in neural networks. Learning paradigms are used to teach the machine how to behave like a biological brain system. That means uh, we have seen that artificial neural network is a collection of artificial neurons which are interconnected through some network architecture, and every connection will have a weight. Overall, what we do in an artificial neural network is, given an input data, the neural network must produce the intended target output. For that, we'll be adjusting those weights that are connected in the neural network. And how this neural network identifies the corresponding weights on the interconnections of neurons. So that is how these learning paradigms will be used. Neural network makes use of any of these learning paradigms uh, as a methodology to train the neural network and produce the corresponding intended output. Okay, so there are three basic learning paradigms available. One is supervised learning, second one is unsupervised learning, and the third one is reinforcement learning. Along with these three, there is one more learning paradigm available, which is called as semi-supervised learning paradigm, which is a combination of supervised learning and unsupervised learning paradigm. So we'll see one by one how the learning happens in a neural network with the help of these three paradigms, and what are the differences between these learning paradigms now. So let us start with the first one, supervised learning. In supervised learning, what will be given is the input data is labeled data. That means we can identify every input with a label. Okay, so that means the data points we have will have some labels which tells us the correct answer to the question that we pose to the neural network. Then all this data will be split into training data and testing data, where training data will be used to train our neural network model, and then we will identify the working of this model with the help of the testing data, for which answers are already known. So uh, then based on the answers or the correctness of the answers, the model will again will be trained if at all required, if the answer is not matching with the actual label. Therefore, uh, this is a learning paradigm in which labeled data is used for training the artificial neural network. So that is the basic concept of supervised learning. Okay. Once the model is built, we can identify uh, its behavior or the correctness of the model with the help of some evaluation techniques, uh, by calculating its performance or by identifying its by measuring its performance. Okay, So once a model is built, we can give the model some input which is from the real world, and we can see the corresponding output also. This diagram shows the fundamental concept of supervised learning. Assume that this is the known data, and this is its label. So we know that these are apples, that is the label of this corresponding data. Both are given as inputs to the model, the data and their labels. And the model learns itself by using this known data and the corresponding label. And once the model is ready, after learning, we can then give some new data as input to the corresponding model. And if the model can correctly identify the corresponding data with an accurate label, then the model is a successful model or efficient model. Okay, so in this example, we have given apples as known data and the label as these are apples. And whenever you give a new data, an apple, the model should identify it as an apple. The response from the neural network should be it's an apple. So this is a supervised learning. The main point that you need to understand is the data given for the model while training will be labeled data. So this is how it occurs. It gathers the information that as known data, and then learns how to get the best answer based on this known data and the label, and applies the same method when a new information is given as input. Okay, so when a new information is given, the model will not learn by itself. So the new information will not be used for learning, but the new information will be used for only prediction purpose. And these are some common models that make use of supervised learning paradigm. One is k-nearest neighbors model, naive Bayes model, and the decision trees that makes use of supervised learning procedure. These are some real-world examples that falls under this category that can be solved using supervised learning paradigm. Predicting housing prices given that the existing housing prices, and detecting a spam, and face detection in image processing given some set of faces with labels. We can identify the new given face, and speech automated systems can also be solved using the supervised learning paradigm. Okay. The second category of learning paradigm is unsupervised learning. This is actually a process that works with unlabeled data. That means we do not have any labels for the corresponding data. Therefore, the goal is to discover patterns and trends within a data set and then use those patterns to make predictions about the new data. Because there are no labels, the model that we build should discover the patterns and trends within the given data, and this pattern should be used to make predictions about the future data. Okay, so in the context of neural network, the goal is to determine the organization of data, organization of the given data set that given as input to the neural network. That means we will classify or cluster the corresponding data elements which are given as input. Okay, so to understand this unsupervised learning, let us take a scenario, example scenario here. Assume that you have a list of food items on a table, and you need to identify the or you need to group the food items based on the taste that you feel. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll eat one item at a time, and we'll group it into the corresponding category. Let us say cold and sweet, hot and salty, and so on, based on what we felt. And uh, see, every time when you eat it, you will be identifying a group. And whenever you get another item, another food item with same category, then you will group it into the first item. In that way, we can group the items into uh, patterns uh, from the corresponding food items. And as we continue to eat more food, we will place each food into the cluster that is most closely resembling the corresponding food that we already consumed. So this is an example scenario where unsupervised learning is used in general. Okay, so because we don't know the labels, we eat one item and assume a label for it, and then whenever you eat a new item, if it is same as the previous one, we'll group them into a cluster and so on. So this is the basis for unsupervised learning. There will be no answer key, though, or there will be no prior knowledge. We will be simply discovering and categorizing food based on similarity and closeness to other foods. The same technique is used in neural networks also when it is used unsupervised learning paradigm. So here is another example. There are a set of mm, pics or images. We can group the ducks because these are having some similar properties. Three ducks into one cluster, and this one into another cluster, and this one into another cluster. So based on because we don't have any labels over here, based on the similarities, we group them into clusters. This is what happens in unsupervised learning. So the benefits from unsupervised learning is we will be having unlabeled data, which will be easy to get. And the second advantage that we get is you don't require any prior knowledge of the data. Okay, as we continue with the incoming data, we group them into clusters. Okay, so that is the advantage with unsupervised learning. Uh, the common models that makes use of unsupervised learning are uh, clustering models, anomaly detection, compressions, and filtering. So where we can actually make use of unsupervised learning. The real-world examples where unsupervised learning is used is uh, market segmentation, distinguishing shapes of cancerous cells, and so on. There are many examples, many applications that we can solve using unsupervised learning. Simply remember, unsupervised learning is suitable for the applications where you don't have any labeled data. Okay. The third category is reinforcement learning. So this style of learning is actually a bit different from the previous two, where the first one in supervised learning we have labeled data, and in second one we have unlabeled data. In reinforcement learning, what we do is uh, the machine chooses and learns the most optimal path. I'll read it again. The machine chooses and learns the most optimal path to achieve the corresponding target. Okay, that means to build a machine or a model that makes use of this reinforcement learning, what will be done is the machine will be given with some rewards and punishments based on its performance that culminate in a long-term end goal. That means whenever we submit a set of input data and the model produces some output, based on the corresponding output, we will identify some rewards and punishments given to the model. And if the punishment is given, then the model has to learn again so that it moves to the um, uh, what we can say expected outcome. Okay. Rewards and punishment signals are received by the machine when the machine achieves a new state, right? The feedback is not part of this paradigm of learning. Instantaneous feedback will not be given. The feedback will be given, or the punishments and rewards will be given only once the model is partly built. Okay, so this is how reinforcement learning can be used for building models, machine learning models. To understand it, take an example. Imagine that a kid is taking some tests. We do not get any instantaneous feedback for each question as the kid progress through the individual test. Instead, will be given feedback at the end of a test, which gives him an idea of the trajectory, uh, how to adjust the corresponding approach. Okay, so once the test is completed, he will be having some feedbacks. The rewards and punishments will be known to him. Based on that, he can adjust himself so that the series of tests will improve the performance of the corresponding kid. So this process is very much used in reinforcement learning, where the model keeps on learning based on the rewards and punishments given while learning. Okay, so you can use this scenario to understand how reinforcement learning works. We don't have this reinforcement learning models in our syllabus actually. We will learn how supervised learning and unsupervised learning can be done with the help of some examples later on in our third unit, fourth unit, and fifth unit. We will be using one of these supervised and unsupervised learning models, but we don't have it in syllabus. Okay, but understand the reinforcement learning technique with the help of this scenario. The benefits from reinforcement learning are it responds well to unforeseen environments and factors. So the best suited environment is unforeseen environment. That means when we do not have any knowledge about the corresponding environment, then the model can learn itself based on the award and punishment system. Okay, so this award and punishment system allows for a dynamic and constantly changing model. So it is also important to aware some negatives of reinforcement learning. The first negative point is the reward or punishment system is in place. If you do not have this reward or punishment system properly designed, then the algorithm will not run. So that is the first disadvantage of reinforcement learning. And the second one is if your tolerance for mistakes is very low, then the optimal path may not be discovered. Okay, that is the second disadvantage. And finally, this learning paradigm requires a high iteration count. That means it requires a lot of time for learning. Okay, so that is about reinforcement learning. And the fourth one is a semi-supervised learning. The name itself tells that it is going to be a combination of supervised learning and unsupervised learning. Semi-supervised learning is supervised learning where the training data contains very few labeled examples and a large number of unlabeled examples. So you can understand that the input data contains both labeled examples, labeled data as well as unlabeled data. In most of the cases, labeled data will be very less and majority of the data contains unlabeled data. So this is a combination of supervised and unsupervised, where in supervised learning, only the labeled data is used. In unsupervised learning, only the unlabeled data is used, where semi-supervised makes use of both. And using labeled data, what we do is the model uh, trains itself by using the labeled data, and then whenever unlabeled examples are given, the data again continues to learn uh, with unlabeled examples also. Okay, so making effective use of unlabeled data may require the use of unsupervised methods such as clustering and density estimation that are useful in unsupervised learning. Once groups and patterns are discovered, supervised methods or ideas from supervised learning may be used to label the unlabeled examples. So you can see everywhere it is a combination of unlabeled and labeled. Therefore, both the unsupervised methods and supervised methods are required for building a model that makes use of semi-supervised learning. Some real world examples that makes use of semi-supervised learning uh, are classifying photographs is an example for semi-supervised learning, and computer vision examples or field of computer vision that makes use of semi-supervised learning falls into this category. And there are so many examples in real world. Actually, this semi-supervised learning is very useful compared to the others, because in real world data, uh, we come across this scenario where some labeled data is available, and the remaining data is unlabeled. Therefore, semi-supervised learning will be useful uh, for the real world problems. Okay, so these are the learning paradigms available. So today we have discussed four learning paradigms, starting with supervised learning, then we discussed unsupervised learning, and then reinforcement learning, and finally we discussed about semi-supervised learning, which are used for building our neural network models. Uh, that's all for today. In our next class, we will be starting the most important topic of second unit, that is learning rules or learning algorithms or training algorithms that will be useful, that are used in designing our neural network models. Okay, so that's all for today. Thank you all for patient listening. See you in the next class. Thank you.